Hi, my name is Frank Blau, and I'm a Senior Solutions Architect at Brightlight Consulting. Today I'm here to talk to you about machine data, and in particular how machine data is consumed and visualized in a tool called Splunk. So the first thing is, what is machine data? Well, I think of machine data as part of this whole Internet of Things. That is, things that are out there that can just generate data all by themselves. This is sensors, temperature, weather data, medical equipment, anything like that that can actually generate data by itself. This helps us in business intelligence because we can now process this information and use it in our business intelligence landscape. So what are some characteristics of machine data? Well, one thing is that machine data usually comes with information about when the events that you're tracking happened. That is, we call this a timestamp. And these timestamps can be generated by either the device itself or even sometimes by the tools that are consuming it, like Splunk can actually apply timestamps also. But you kind of want to know when something happened in order to get intelligence about it. The other thing about machine data is that it's textual. That is, it's readable. It's information that can be easily seen as information. That is, temperature equals 38 degrees or heart rate equals 65. This is important because the tools that consume it, in particular the one that we're talking about today, Splunk, needs the information to be readable. It needs to be textual. That means we're not going to be processing binary information, images, that kind of stuff. Although we can contain references to them, this isn't really a tool for doing that kind of processing. So what kind of processing are we going to do on this data? Well, one of the really important things that we want to do with machine data is to aggregate it. Machine data comes in generally very, very fast, thousands, sometimes tens of thousands of records per second. And in order to make sense of them, you want to aggregate them typically by maybe time, and because time is a valuable thing in this operational data. So if we have tens of thousands of records coming in per second, we might want to count them, for example, by minute, maybe even by hour, day, week, whatever. And these tools, like Splunk, are uniquely suited to solving this problem because they have this sort of aggregate time-based analysis built into them. But the other interesting thing about these tools is that you don't have to write complex queries to be able to visualize your data. They actually respond very well to just plain text queries, like Google, for example, works. You just type in some text and it finds all the records that have that text in them. Again, which is why I talked about earlier, having the data as textual is so important. So for example, I want to find all the records that have the words error in them, or error and user equals Frank. It would actually find all that very quickly, and then I could perform this additional aggregate sort of analysis on the data based on time. So in order to demonstrate this, I'm going to use a device called a Raspberry Pi. And a Raspberry Pi is a really interesting little small computer that allows you to run Linux and do all kinds of really cool programming experiments on it and have full networking capabilities. What you're seeing here is my Raspberry Pi. I have some boards attached to it that allow me to connect devices that, in this case, do things like measure the oxygen in your blood, check your pulse, and even do things like generate EKG waves. I'm not going to do the EKG one in this example because it's actually a different kind of data that you're dealing with at that point. But what I'm going to do in this case is I'm going to attach these devices to it and show you what the program is that actually runs on the Pi and allows you to send the data to Splunk for further analysis. So the next thing we're going to take a look at is the program written on the Pi that actually generates the data using the health kit that I showed you earlier. So I'm going to show you the source code. It's a C++ program. There's a lot of code in it that's just around creating the TCP connections. I want to scroll through that and sort of focus on the area of the code that's actually generating data and sending it out to be absorbed. So what you're looking at now is the program. So we've got some include statements up top. Most of the stuff in the preamble in the top area here is really just about creating a TCP connection. And this TCP connection is just a generic library. I copied and pasted it to generate good IP addresses and all that kind of good stuff. But the main part of the program is down here. And what this part of the program does is it basically connects to a host and creates a client and sets up a connection to the host on a particular port. And then it has some data points in here. It's got the beats per minute, the respiration, the pulse oxygen saturation, and it just creates a loop. And in this loop, I'm not doing the respiration in this version right here. I'm just going to do the oxygen saturation and the beats per minute. And it creates a string to send that data out. And you'll notice in this string of data here that it actually creates a key value pair, like sat equals BPM equals. That's what we call a key value pair. And that's important because when it gets over to the Splunk, you'll see you can actually parse out those values and use them in your analytic reporting. And then it sends the data, and then it waits a bit and does it again. So that's basically all that the program does here. And I will take some time to show you what the Splunk side of it does next.